Great. Well, hi, Chris. Thank you so much for joining me today. I have Chris Baxter from Aeva today, and we are going to just talk about his company, all the kind of challenges that he's recognized, and why Aeva came into existence in the first place. Thank you so much for joining me, Chris. I know we've got a lot of common clients, a lot of shared clients, and then probably a lot of clients that I work with that would benefit from your services and that you work with that might benefit from our services. So here we are.
Fantastic. Excited to be here, Celia. Thanks for having me.
It's my absolute pleasure. So shall we just start by why did Ava come into existence?
Yeah, sure. So I guess back when I very first was doing phone calls myself, I was in a role in actually real estate, doing phone calls on the phones, trying to give the best customer service that I could. And at that point, I was researching how we could possibly not have to do that ourselves. It just
Mm,
felt like there was got to be a better way. And that's when I came across AI phone answering.
yeah.
And it kind of came across to me when it wasn't a big thing at all in the world. No one really knew it was possible. And I found out about it and I realized that it was going to be massive, that every single industry could just genuinely change because of this.
Mm.
And so that's when I went, right, I'm getting out of real estate. I'm going into building and trying to help other businesses with AI receptionists.
Yeah.
And so that's when I partnered with my best friend at the time, and we launched Aeva. Now, Aeva at the beginning, it was actually trying to help lots of different industries. We were trying to kind of find our place out there.
Uh-huh.
And we finally built a solution for a physio clinic. And as soon as we did that, it just clicked. It just made sense that the problem was massive in allied health and MSK. So we realized that it was a big gap. We focused everything and went, right, we're going fully into allied health, MSK, and we want to build our business around that. And that's
Amazing.
where it started. That was at the start of last year that we launched for
Yeah.
clinics.
Oh, brilliant. So, I mean, I think my story is probably in a way similar. I didn't initially go into working with physios, osteos, chiros intentionally. It kind of happened by accident.
Okay.
And then when it happened, I was like, oh my word, this is my space to be. So
Yeah.
that's fabulous. So what problems did you see in the first physio clinic that you worked with? Like what were the things that you were trying to fix for them?
Yeah, sure. So the very first physio clinic, their two biggest things that they came to us with. First one was after our calls. They knew that they were missing business. They
Mm,
went, guys, like we realize when our receptionists come in the morning and they go through all the missed calls, there are patients in there that wanted to book, tried to book, but called the clinic down the road because they
mm,
didn't pick up. And so that gap was just massive for them. They
mm.
said, please build a solution for that. And then the second issue was with regards to their current reception team that they did have. They had a receptionist that was on full time, but they couldn't keep up with all the calls on a Monday morning. And
Yeah,
they can't be calling while they're trying to be on lunch break as well.
yeah.
And so during those times, the busy times, the times where the receptionist just couldn't get to the phone, that's when it was so valuable for them
Mm.
to have something that could just be the backup for their clinic, always there when they can't be.
Yeah. I mean, I've definitely seen like with clients that have now taken on your services where they're like, oh my gosh, we've got all these bookings like at 10 o'clock at night where people are thinking, oh, I really want a physio appointment. And they kind of want to do it there and then. But most, if you don't take online bookings or um, they can't just book. So a lot of my clients have actually noticed an increase in new patient bookings because they've got the service in place. And I've got clients that have had used like maybe virtual receptionists as a backup who are now using Ava, and it's a big cost saving for them as well. And as you say, like with Ava, you can have five calls being answered at the same time. Whereas if you've got a receptionist and they're on the phone, they can't answer that other call.
Only
So
human,
yeah. So
100%.
and so in terms of like clinic owners challenges where you see technology being able to support them? What are those kind of, so we've spoken about obviously the staffing issue, or maybe if you've only got one receptionist that they can't be taking two calls. So you've got our staffing pressures, but what other things challenge clinic owners that you've seen that you think, okay, technology can really sort this out?
Yeah, the cool thing is this issue that lies with phone calls kind of applies to the majority of clinics out there.
Mm,
And so you look at, for example, clinics that don't have a receptionist. Now, they need to be picking up the calls themselves if they've got a phone line accessible. Some might not even be advertising a phone line because they don't have time to pick up the
mm,
calls.
mm,
And so it's trying to give them a little bit more support to say, right, you don't need to go out there and spend more than maybe you're bringing into the clinic just to get a receptionist. You've got
mm,
this additional support layer, which is an AI receptionist that can help you while you're growing the business, while you're
mm,
trying to get enough revenue in the door to maybe get a real receptionist or just get some support with that. So
mm.
I think for those smaller clinics that don't yet have that support, this additional layer is just such a relief that they don't have to do the admin themselves. They can
Yeah.
just focus on the patients and focus on growing their clinics.
Yeah. I mean, that pre-AI, one of the first things that I'd say to my clients, get a decent website so that you are, and get a decent website that is search engine optimized, that people can find you. And then number two is make sure that your phones are answered. And so you can't afford a receptionist, you can't afford a full-time receptionist, get a call answering service. So before AI came into existence, that was, I'd even say to people that came to our business, if they didn't have a website and they didn't have a call answering service, and they were kind of tight in terms of finances, I'd say go and get those first before we even start talking, because like you rather spend your money with those services than with painless practice, because those are the first two things that you need in place. Obviously, now with AI, now we've gone down to another level where actually that's even more cost effective than like a real person answering the phone. So I mean, I think it's really amazing for cost saving as well, for clinics, and actually it's not even just applicable to smaller clinics. I have a client who's got about 30 therapists, and at one point they were just really struggling with their front of house team, and eventually they just went completely tech and got rid of their whole front of house team, and they have AI answering for
Yeah,
a really
nice.
big clinic.
So
So it's not even just, it's not just for the smaller clinics either. But I'd say most of my bigger clinics do have some kind of front of house, and then they have the AI as a backup and a support to run their clinic efficiently.
absolutely.
Mm.
And I think like it's really interesting because we did a bit of an analysis recently, Celia, on all the users of Aeva. And we went, right, what are they actually converting of
Mm,
those calls that would have been otherwise missed, the ones coming in after hours, the ones that they wouldn't have gotten? What's converting back to an appointment? And
mm,
what we realized was that the higher bracket of our AV users are getting up to 30% of what those calls would have been missed back into bookings, 30% converted into bookings.
mm.
And it just shows like that could be an extra hundreds of thousands of dollars in revenue for larger clinics. And
Yeah,
for
yeah,
smaller clinics, couple 10,000 more each
yeah,
year is it's just massive. So it's a big hole that's currently out there that
yeah.
definitely needs to be filled.
If you look at, if any clinic owner just looks at what their kind of patient visit average is, like how many times does a new patient actually end up coming to the clinic in a lifetime,
Yeah,
that missed call is massive. It convert
absolutely.
it converts into thousands
Yeah,
if you look at the lifetime value of a client.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. And so and that almost kind of brings me to my next kind of question, I suppose, is in terms of the patient journey, what are, those follow-ups are are crucial as well. So, where's the friction? Like, where do clinics most commonly create friction without even realizing it? Like, where they creating problems with almost not even realizing that that was a problem in the first place?
Yeah, I think like it probably brings me to something we've released really recently, Celia, and it allows clinics and clinicians who don't have the time to follow up with their past patients that they've seen, who
Hmm.
kind of just neglect them. They go, "Ah, it's too hard. I'll do it another time, and I'll do it when I need more appointments." But
Mm.
really, those patients should be getting follow-ups, check-ins to see how they're going. Once every few months, maybe even once a month. How good would that be? So what we've actually built is what's called Aeva Outbound. It allows practitioners to jump into our system, click a button. Ava can go, right, who hasn't been into the clinic for an appointment after 3 months or
Yeah.
after a month or whatever time and parameters you set it around. And it can literally call out that patient, say that the practitioner asked them to give them a call to check in and see if they need a new appointment. And so it's just that touch point to remind them to see if they need help and
Yeah.
to bring them back into the calendar if needed. So that's
Yeah.
been really well received, especially in
Mm.
the UK. We had someone testing that over a 6 week period. They said that it allowed them to do 5x the return of what their meta ads was. And so they've never had as better return on any other marketing spend anywhere else.
Yeah.
So they got 5x return of their meta spend on
Wow.
that.
I mean, that's a massive, that definitely is a massive thing that we talk about all the time in terms of, keeping in touch with your existing database. Um, and
Yeah,
so having that system being able to be automated is fantastic. Um, we,
yeah,
we- I ran a success club this week where we have a group of practitioners that come together, and we were talking about like implementing that recall system, and um, it's so important. And I always say, if you and even for patients that are in a course of care, often clinics will run a cancellation list once a month, and then they'll get in touch with those patients. But actually, if you're in a course of care and you're supposed to have an appointment, say next week, it doesn't help just getting in touch with them in a month's time. If they're supposed to be having weekly appointments and they've fallen out of your course of care, that needs to
yeah.
happen
Very true.
quicker. And so if you can use an AI service to do that for you, happy days.
100%. And, and
Yeah.
and it does get missed so much. They just drop off the radar. I think another one that you'd love, Celia, which we've released, is called the practitioner sick day call. And so how that works is when a practitioner is sick, they can jump in, click a button in Naver, it'll call all their patients for the day and help to
Oh,
reschedule them
yeah.
to an upcoming time. So super useful on those annoying days that happens. So you don't have to
Yeah.
sit there and do all
See,
that manual work.
that's really interesting because one of the things that we are saying is that it is actually more inconvenient when a receptionist doesn't turn up to work than when a physio does. Like
Yeah,
actually, when the physio can't come in and they're not well or whatever, then the receptionist will like sort everything out. But if the
yep.
receptionist doesn't turn up, that's a major issue.
That's back to the
That's
owner. Yeah, exactly.
amazing.
100%. Yeah.
So in in a clinic, what are the kind of tasks that you think people are maybe spending too much time on that could actually be automated by technology?
Yeah, sure. I mean, what we see a lot, Celia, is clinic owners implement Ava into the business. They started off as after hours, right? Just to sort of
Mm.
get a bit of an understanding on how it works, feel comfortable with themselves, make sure they're happy with the configuration. And then as soon as they're feeling comfy, they integrate it more into the business. And so that gives the receptionist more time, if they've got one, the receptionist more time to focus on things like marketing, in-person service, like make it just the best experience possible for those patients. to try and increase word of mouth. We've got practice owners who started reducing admin hours to try and cut costs and save costs. So that's also an option. We've got also clinic owners who have decided to increase their opening hours online. So literally gone on Google Maps. They've gone, right, now we're saying that people can call us from up until 9 p.m. And
Mm.
what that does is when someone searches up after work at 8 p.m., right, which physio clinic is around me, that listing will be the first one because it says it's open. And so they can
Yeah.
call up, book it in, and secure that appointment. So there's all these little tricks that they're doing to really maximize their people's time as well as maximize what they're getting out of the system, which is cool.
Mm. Yeah. And so, and then what what are the things that clinic owners are wary about? You know, when they get in touch with you and they're looking at your service, what are their concerns and, you know, what are their maybe even misconceptions perhaps of of the service?
Yeah, of course. There's some common ones. So I think the biggest one that I get the most is, but Chris, we've got older patients.
Mm.
How are older patients gonna feel about this?
Yeah.
And my answer's the same every time because it's the truth. And it is that when we very first started and built Ava, we kind of analyzed, right, who are the patients that are actually going to be calling Ava? Well, they're not the young people because they use online bookings, right? They're all booking online. So
Mm.
this is our customer is the older and elderly patients.
Yeah.
So when we built the system, we realized that we have to make it so natural and so just easy to use, so simple that anyone can call in as non-tech savvy as they are and book an appointment and it to
Yeah.
feel like a seamless experience. So I think that's probably the biggest question that we get, and luckily we thought of that, I guess, when
Yeah.
we built Ava.
Yeah, yeah. So you've recognized that that is probably the higher target audience of the people that would be phoning in the first place. I mean, obviously you're going to have some
Yeah,
clinics into online booking maybe, so then you'll get a higher demographic. But absolutely, the younger generation, almost like if your target market is a younger generation, you really should have online booking because that's
yeah,
what generation want to do. They don't want to phone and speak to anybody. They just want to book. Where
absolutely. That,
the demographic like to get on the phone. So that's great.
yeah,
That actually part of your strategy in the development stage.
100%. It's funny, Celia. The ones who rave about Ava the most in terms of patients when they come into the clinic and they're like, "Oh my gosh," it's always the older customers. It's always those elderly patients because they're just so amazed. They never knew this could ever be a possibility, and then they hear it and they talk to it. They're like, "That was amazing! Like I can't believe I just talked to an AI." So it's really cool to hear stories.
Actually, sometimes they don't even realize that it's AI. We would at
Yeah,
this
true.
Club on Wednesday, we were talking about it, and one of my clients they don't use Ava, they use Lingo, but she was saying
Mhm.
how that a patient came in and she wanted to see Mavis, the receptionist. And Mavis was an AI receptionist, and she was like really upset that she couldn't meet Mavis. She's like, didn't
It's
even
too
realize.
good. Yeah. Yeah.
So I suppose, I guess some of the concerns might be that balance of automation and personal touch. And I suppose the Mavis story almost just shows that you can actually have a personal touch with automation. But you know, do you have any advice in terms for clinic owners in terms of balancing Ava and front of house?
Yeah. Um, I guess one of the second main questions is is this trying to replace like my team? Is this removing that personal touch? And people go, I don't think humans can, remove or I don't think AI can give that personal touch that my receptionist can. And what I'd say to that is I'd 100% agree. If you've got a person and a receptionist that is completely trained on your services and they call and speak to your patients, it's always going to be better than the AI
Mm.
all day. But if you've got someone that's untrained or someone that can't get to the phone, then
Mm.
AI is the much better choice than a voicemail or someone
Yeah,
that's untrained and doesn't know the business. And
yeah.
so that's where I think AI's place is and our system. It's
Mm.
to help when that first class person that should be there isn't.
Mm.
Like, for example, the owner of a business, they're going to be the best person to pick up the phone.
Yeah.
But you can't always get the owner of the business. So that's where AI fits in. That's what I'd say.
And I ran an in-house workshop for a clinic's front of house team on Monday this week, and we were talking about the questions that you get asked, and so we were talking about developing a frequently asked questions so that every receptionist would answer, like if they were asked a question, they'd all feel confident and equipped to answer those questions. So making sure that you're kind of maybe jotting down all the questions that you get asked in a month and then getting together as a team and saying, okay, these are the questions that we've been asked. Some receptionists feel more confident than others on some of the questions. So like, typically, like if you've got a multidisciplinary clinic, what's the difference between physio and osteo and chiro? Like, who should I be booking in with? I don't know who to book in with. And I think where AI can really be really beneficial is it learns quicker. It takes a lot of time to develop those FAQs and, train your front of house staff. And AI just, if you're using AI either as AI in its entirety and that's your front of house, but even if you're using it as a backup, I think you can train it much quicker.
The brilliant thing is that AI at the end of the day is just made up of knowledge. And
Mm.
so the more that you provide to it, the more it's going to be able to share about your business. And so you can literally give it your website. It will scan through every piece of content on your website and just automatically train itself on FAQs that it
Yeah.
generates for itself. And that's
Yeah.
done in about 2 minutes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
for
Like that.
training, 100%.
Yeah. So that's a huge advantage. So on that note, what do you think it like what do clinics do that benefit the best from Ava compared to maybe, so what kind of clinic benefits the best from Ava? What are they doing differently from clinics that might not be benefiting as much?
The number one thing I can say we see across the board is that the clinics who perform the best are the clinics who understand that when someone's speaking to AI, a system, when someone understands that they're speaking to a system, simple works better than more complex. And
Mm.
so the caller wants to get from calling in to booking an appointment as fast as possible when they understand it's a system. And so making the script short, concise, helpful, rather than trying to ask pre-qualification scripting, trying to build rapport. No one wants to build rapport with a system. So
Mm.
it's trying to just guide them on that journey as fast as possible. Now,
Okay.
the other thing that helps massively is your appointment types and keeping them clean, simple. What we found is it doesn't just help the AI, it helps your patients to understand what they should be booking. And I think
Yeah.
it's the same. You can help me on this if you agree, Celia. I think it's the same for online bookings to
Mm.
try and keep that as simple and as straightforward so that if a new patient comes to the clinic, they go, oh, okay, I just booked this. They don't have to
Yeah.
think about it.
You don't, you
So I
have,
think it's the same.
I think what happens is when people have too much choice, they make no choice.
Exactly right. They get overwhelmed.
It's so overwhelming, so confusing. Now you've given me all this information and I actually don't know what to do with it.
Exactly right. So it's the
You-
exact same for the AI receptionist.
Yeah.
And it's doing things such as, like on the AI receptionist, for example, it's trying to cut down groups of appointment types that you may have. For example, if you have lots of insurance appointment types,
Mm.
just offer one appointment type, and then maybe when they come in, ask them what insurance they have and change that appointment type when they're in
Yeah.
there. It's
Yeah.
getting rid of those sort of things to try and just simplify it as much as possible to just make it super simple and easy.
So it's really eliminating the barriers and obstacles that patients might kind of go away and think, oh, I actually don't know if this is the right clinic for me.
100%.
So is there anything else that you'd advise in terms of successfully implement? If I had a client that started with Ava tomorrow, is there anything else that you'd advise for them to have a successful implementation?
Yeah, for sure. So what I say to everyone that comes on board with Ava, for example, is Ava's, we've made it so easy to set up. So it literally takes up to an hour to actually set up the AI. But after that, those first few weeks, I highly recommend reviewing the calls that are coming in every now and then. We've
Mhm.
got recordings, we've got transcripts that you can review, making sure that if you see something that you're like, right, oh, that could potentially be optimized. Maybe we could add a question to help patients or remove a question to make it more simple. That's when you do those little tweaks, which can be done within the system. And that's that optimization phase. And after that, if you spend the time and you do that every now and then, it will be working on autopilot in the background and you won't have to think about it again.
Mm.
And that's the point that we want every single one of our customers to get to.
Yeah. So so it is like in the initial stage, it's like reviewing the transcripts and just tweaking until you get to the point where actually now Ava knows everything about our business.
100%. It's just those few weeks, just every now and then reviewing those calls. And the good thing is like if you're with Ava, we guide you through all of that as well. So we're here to help, to jump on video calls, to go over things, to review calls with you. So we offer that support in there to assist with that.
Yeah. Okay. And so I guess then if we now kind of switch tact a bit and look at what are you seeing in terms of clinic growth and like from you obviously working with loads of different clinics. What do you think is like influencing or supporting a clinic becoming more and more and more successful?
I think it's ensuring two things that no patients, no new patients specifically, are slipping out of the door.
Mm.
And when you've got the phones covered all the time, then you can make sure of that. And then the second one is making sure your current patients are supported as well. And what's really important is things like when a patient calls on a Friday afternoon when you've already closed, they call in and say, "Hey, I'm so sorry. I wanted to tell you as soon as possible, but I can't make my Monday appointment anymore."
Mm.
Now, you're not getting to that until Monday morning. And so when you get to that and you cancel their appointment on Monday morning, that slot's been filled up from Friday afternoon, Saturday, Sunday. And so no other patient's been able to fill that slot. And so you've got a gap in your diary. And
Mm.
so this is all these little holes that now you can start to fill out because you've got something actually always active and working on those. So
Yeah.
I think it's really important to fill those gaps that are in
Yeah.
there.
A great analogy that one of a guy that I do some work with in Australia, he does the same similar thing that I do, and he talks about how you can't fill a seat once the aeroplane's taken off, and that's
Yeah,
exactly
I love that.
describing is like someone cancels a Monday morning appointment on a Friday, and you don't get that message until Monday morning. You can't fill that seat. The plane's
No.
taken. So I
Yeah.
think that's really important and really useful service to be able to have. And so could you use Ava as an example to follow up on waiting lists? So if you had,
Yeah, very soon.
could we be doing that?
Absolutely. There's so much we're working on, Celia. That's one included. A few
Okay.
others that's really exciting are appointment reminders. So just appointment reminder calls. So if people
Yeah.
aren't responding to texts, call them. They'll probably respond to a call more. And the other one is uh, marketing calls. And so this is where if you've got an ad on Meta, you've got a form that's being filled out with someone's information, phone number, email. As soon as they fill out a phone number and click it on a Facebook ad, Ava can call them instantly and
Right.
book them in, make sure that they're converted, make sure that their questions are answered. And so that as well is going to be massive. We're working on those at the
Amazing. Yeah,
moment.
so, I mean, that I do, I have got clients that do meta advertising, and then like sometimes they don't follow up on the leads quick enough. And so they've spent
Exactly.
money on the advertising and then they haven't actually made the most of it.
Yeah, that's
So
exactly right.
like
So that's
you'll
what
maybe
we're trying to
you'll
fill.
have all these leads and then you've got one person that's following up on all these leads. So naturally you're going to have, let's say you have 100 people that have clicked on it. That's going to take a few days to get through those phone calls.
Yeah,
Whereas Ava can do it, all of them in a second, and then follow up in another second.
absolutely.
So while the lead's hot, Ava's on it.
Strike while the iron's hot. That's the best
Yeah.
for leads for sure.
Yeah. And I think so, like, I think I've probably seen a bit of fear from maybe some reception staff where they feel like their role's going to become insignificant. So how do we navigate that? And I mean, like sometimes there might be that it it is replacing a job, but I think that I've seen a lot of the time is that actually, then you can start utilizing your staff doing more of the personal touch stuff. So what is your kind of thoughts on that?
When we first built Ava, Celia, and still now, it's not meant to be a replacement of reception staff at all. It's meant to be a backup,
Mm.
backing up your team when they can't get to the phone.
Yeah.
And I think for reception staff, they are safe in regards to if you've got a, a patient that walks into the clinic, when your reception smiles and says, "Hey, how are you today?" and greets them, that's that human connection that they're going to remember. When they walk in and there's no one there, it's a little bit different. And so
Mm.
that could be never be replaced by AI.
Mm.
And so that's where they still come into to play, that personal touch, and of
Mm.
course trying to push them onto say marketing and that side of things.
Mm.
That would be massive for a lot of clinics to have that
Yeah.
repurposed and just
Mm.
higher value activities around the clinic
Yeah.
rather than those cancellation calls, reschedule calls, things like that.
Yeah. So it's like all those things that actually that can be automated, and then actually how can we add value to the patient experience with our face-to-face team? And so having like almost
Absolutely.
patient concierge that's looking after that patient when they arrive in the clinic, and then what else can they be doing to add value to the patient experience and add value to the clinic as well, add value to the
I
practice owner, value to the actual clinical team, because at the end of the day what we want is we want the clinical team to be doing clinical. But if they are having to do admin, so there's a part of Ava that can support the clinical team. But then if we are reducing the burden of the front of house, then the front of house can be doing more for the clinical team to help them just see patients and get patients better.
instead of being on a phone when a patient walks in.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, exactly right.
So are there any kind of other resistances that you've experienced? Like, so we've spoken about the fact that, one of your common things is that when people are looking into Ava, that they're saying, "Oh, but my demographic is like the elderly community." It's like we know we've answered that question. Are there any other things that you get resistance on, or are there also, have there been problems with Ava that people have come back to you with and said, "Oh, this has happened." Like, what are those things that maybe go wrong?
Yeah, sure. I think probably I'll start off with another big question from clinics, and it is that the uh, the delay or the time it takes for an AI to respond to a person is
Okay.
slightly more than what a human would be.
Right. Yeah.
And so their fear is that, well, my patients might not like that. There's going to be some sort of disconnect when they're on the phone.
Yeah.
And what we've found is we've never had a patient complain about this delay, and
Mm.
it's only slightly more than a person is. I actually think we're about to launch a brand new model to our AI, which is going to shorten the delay. I think it might even be faster than a person, so that should be coming soon. But up until this point, it has been that fear, and I think what I'd say to that is we are completely transparent with all patients calling in that this is an AI receptionist. This is a system that they're calling into, not a person.
Mm.
So no one's expecting a person's speed of response. They expect a system's, which it's fantastic for a system. And
Yeah.
so I think having that clarity and that transparency with the patients when they
Mm.
call in just sets the tone for the conversation.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that's been something that we found. In
Mm.
terms of had there been any issues or things that clinics are finding? I think the main thing is the setup. So all of the support tickets that come into us at Ava and come into my team and we help with is
Mhm.
people just having questions on the setup, just trying to get a bit of an understanding of right, a patient called in, this happened, how can we make it better for future?
Yeah.
Great. Well, let's have a look at this call. Oh, okay. Let's add some scripting for you. Let's
Mm.
try and refine it here. And so I think the setup's the biggest part of things.
Yeah.
Literally, we've got customers that have signed up 1.5 years ago, our very first customers, and we never hear from them. And they never
Yeah.
have even any issues because it's set up perfectly. They don't
Mm.
want to touch it. They're happy with everything.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really that.
Yeah. I think I've had a few clients where they've had like kind of a few little issues where the patient talks over Ava and because of that delay. And so then
Mm.
as soon as they've actually started the call by introducing and saying, "Hi, I'm Sarah, your AI assistant," and whatever however they introduce it, that's absolutely resolved that problem.
We genuinely, every single person that comes to us that says that problem, Celia, we always recommend that first.
Yeah.
With that's always our recommendation, and a lot of them don't have that. And
Mm.
then what I mentioned before, which is we're literally about to release a new model in the coming days,
Mhm.
which is super exciting. It allows transcription, which is another thing that could be an issue. If someone's calling from a phone that has quite a poor microphone from their side,
Yeah.
a person might struggle to understand them, but also an AI does, similar to
Yeah.
a person.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, with new technology that's coming out, it's actually even better than a person at understanding what they're saying as well.
Wow.
So every month we just see this improving again and again and again. So it's a really exciting space to be
Yeah.
in.
And so on that note, where do you see kind of technology coming into play over the next few years?
So there are so many companies like this popping up, trying to get into the space. I
Yeah.
think the reason being is because the barrier to entry is really low, and so anyone can try and put a pretty website together and try and put a product together with AI, like by just asking AI to do it.
Mm.
But I think the main things that people need to look out for. First one is the reliability of the system. And so
Yeah.
making sure that every single edge case is accounted for, the patients aren't being given information that's inaccurate, that are being told things that shouldn't be, like advising on uh, medical things that should not be advised on. So those are core things. The actual system itself, making sure that it's the most realistic out there for your patients as well. So those are some things to look out for. But in terms of the future, what it holds, we have just hired someone that's literally going to be focusing on a brand new sort of division of Ava, and it's to do with your website. and having something on your website that's actually able to help to guide someone from coming on the website and booking an appointment without calling, without using online bookings. And so that's coming. That's really exciting. That's all I can share really about it. But
That's
that's
okay.
something in the space that we're working on. And then just technology just evolving. So obviously by next year, you probably won't even know by any means that there's AI on the phone. Everyone will just assume it's a person. And so that's how
Yeah.
fast it's evolving at the moment.
I mean, if I look in my lifetime, how things have changed, it's crazy. I mean, without like kind of well, giving my age away, but when I did my thesis, when I did my degree, I used a typewriter.
Yeah,
So
right.
we didn't, and I didn't even, I think I was 24 or 25 when I got a mobile phone. It was like, and now you
Crazy.
look at that and you think like, 30 years later, it's mad how things
It's
have,
insane.
and it's getting quicker and quicker and quicker.
It's really interesting. All the PMS systems that we're working with as well, pretty much every single one of them have said that we're doing a massive refresh of our whole interface, of our
Yeah.
whole user experience, of the patient online bookings widget. It's all going to be refreshed, and it's
Mm,
because of AI. They're just going right. AI refresh everything,
yeah.
make it the best it can be, and so that's all coming.
And so on that, which are the so you work with um, practice management software systems. Which ones are you currently working with, and do you have any others that you can mention that are in the pipeline?
Yeah, so we got a heap in the pipeline. We've kind of built a bit of an engine so that moving forward, we can just start integrating with PMS systems
Mm.
as easily and as quickly as we can.
Yeah.
So the two that we're currently integrated into is Clinico and Splos. The
Yeah.
ones we're working on are things like Nucal, Galaxy, Xander, uh,
Yeah.
some of the UK ones. We're trying to do a few of those ones as well. I think it's a lot of relationship building with them too,
Yeah.
trying to get them on board. But if clinics are out there who are with a certain PMS system, we would love to like work with them to work with their PMS to
Mm.
try and get something going and together. So if you're sitting there and you do want an integration, we'd love to try and make it happen.
You then, yeah.
Yeah. What are some ones that you see are the biggest out there, Celia?
So most of my clients will be on Clinico. So Clinico is a main one, which I know you're working with. Jane app is another one that I've got quite a
Yeah.
lot of clients on. Xander. Um, I've got a few clients on WriteUp. Also a Practice Hub, which is mostly chiropractors that are on Practice Hub. And that was developed, I think, by a chiropractor in Bournemouth. TM3, I've got some clients on there as well. Yeah, I'd say those are and did I mention Nuclear? I think you're talking to Nuclear
I
at the moment.
mentioned Nickel. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So
And
all of those are on our radar.
I can go in interfaces with Nuclear.
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
So, but yeah, those are the main ones. And then I think you mentioned Splos as well. So I've got some clients that use Splos as well. Oh, and then another one.
Fantastic.
A few of my clients on Moments.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, yeah,
I think I've heard a few requests from Moments as well, actually, on our wait list.
yeah, yeah.
Awesome.
So if I if I had that kind of closing question, I suppose, is if you were running a private practice, what would be the things that you would absolutely put in place? Like what systems would you absolutely have without a doubt?
Obviously, because I'm in the in the world of trying to make everything as efficient as possible and AI side of things, the two AI systems would have to be the AI Scribe as well as the AI receptionist.
Yeah.
But what I'd also look to do, which a lot of clinics don't do this, the top clinics, from what I've seen and worked with, they're the only ones doing this, is integrate an actual CRM system, one that you
Mm,
can use to market to your past patients and
yeah.
generate business and offers and actually track everything properly. And
Mm,
so a lot of clinics they use Go High Level. I'm
mhm.
actually not too sure why a lot of them use Go High Level, but that's one that I've heard of a lot of the top clinics are using. So that's definitely something I'd do. I'd set up a CRM and actually run it like a proper business. Work out the marketing side of things
Mm.
and
So,
those
I mean,
automatic
don't
campaigns.
just use their practice management software system to a degree with that, and maybe you have MailChimp linked into that. So you'd be looking at
Yeah,
more like maybe like HubSpot or Salesforce or that those kind of CRM systems that are really kind of give you a lot more um, intelligence, I suppose, about your market.
a lot more. And
Mm.
it's not from any experience, Celia, because I don't have any medical history or anything like that, right? So all my experience is from is talking to over 1,000 practitioners on calls
Mm.
and having lots of customers. And all the top customers who are doing the best, they all seem to be using CRM systems, which is really interesting,
They really are
separate to their PMS.
yeah, so they're keeping in touch with their existing database on a
Yeah,
very high.
absolutely.
Yeah. And
Absolutely.
that is one of the most important things to be doing because it's actually harder to generate and more expensive to generate new clients all the time. And actually, if you've got this database, A, just keeping in touch so that those patients come back to you, um, B, so that they're referring other people to you, but actually that they're referring themselves to you as well, because, sometimes they might have come to you for back pain, but they have no idea that you can treat a dodgy shoulder or headaches or grinding your teeth, or, they just
Yeah.
don't even think about coming to you for that. So, using that is, yeah.
Nurturing.
Chris, any kind of closing remarks? How do people get in touch with you? How does your process work in terms of getting in touch with you? Do you first have a conversation? Do you look at anything in terms of their clinic? Tell me a little bit about your patient journey or your client journey.
Yeah, sure. So anyone can jump on and book a call with us to find out and get a bit of a demo, or they can sign up right away from our website. You just have to chat with our little AI on the website. And the actual demo of Ava is transparent. It's open for the public to use on literally on our website right there. We're super confident behind that, which is why we just have it freely for use. So the website is aevaai.com, so avaai.com. And yeah, would love to speak to everyone.
Where did the name come from?
I was trying to find a a receptionist name that I felt was common out there, and I got the wrong name because we have found the most common receptionist name now. But I tried to find a receptionist name, and I wanted to make it as unique and as futuristic as possible. And so that's where the little E came from inside of Ava, and that's where
Yeah.
Ava's from. But what we found out is the most common name, especially in the UK, the number one name that all of our customers call their AI receptionists is Sophie.
Ah,
I don't
amazing.
know why. I don't
Yeah.
know why, but it seems to be so popular. It's really interesting.
We did have a bit of a conversation around how why is it always a woman's name?
It's true. And what we've got is we do have male voices inside of the application itself, but no one genuinely no clinics use them. It's really
Yeah,
interesting. And
yeah,
so we've realized that, and so that's why all the demo voices on there are female voices because it's the ones that clinics want. That's
yeah,
that's that's what people feel comfortable with.
yeah.
Yeah.
Chris, thank you so much for joining me today. I've really enjoyed our conversation and I'm really excited by your service and your product and how it is absolutely transforming my clients, like it's making their life so much easier. And it's actually helping them develop their clinics. So thank you so much for creating this.
Amazing to hear. Really glad to help, Celia. Thank you so much for inviting me.